here's Brody Brazil.
You know, as time goes on, we continue to learn just a little bit more about the Orlando Dreamers, and not just how they plan on acquiring a Major League Baseball franchise for Central Florida, but also who exactly they are. Now, I know a lot of people saw that interview with John Morgan. I did a video on it. He was very blunt, straightforward, straight to the point. He's a lawyer. He says he wants to be part of investing in the Dreamers to make money. He's not a baseball guy, but that's kind of a far contrast from Rick Workman here, who the Orlando Sentinel did kind of a bio piece on. And yes, this is the hometown newspaper. Rick obviously agreed to do this interview because he knew it would make him look good and maybe reveal who he truly is. But it also gave way to some thought about how the Dreamers could actually acquire the Rays. They don't necessarily need to buy out Stuart Sternberg. They're willing to just be part of his ownership group. More on that in just a second. But this piece written by Mike Bianchi of the Orlando Sentinel, the headline says, dental dream maker Rick Workman put some financial teeth into Orlando's baseball effort. Let me give you the quick bio on Rick Workman, who really is a working man. He is the anchor investor of what the Dreamers say is about $2.5 billion of commitments. They say they've got about $1.5 billion lined up and spoken for. In terms of acquiring and facilitating a baseball team, they've also got another $1 billion lined up to start construction on the stadium plans they have for that theme park area and district in Orlando. He grew up, Rick did, on a farm in Illinois, and I'm imagining this is on the southern part of the state because he grew up a big-time fan of the St. Louis Cardinals. Cubs, White Sox? No, in Illinois, he was a Cardinals fan. He aimed to be a dentist growing up, and he actually was a dentist at one point, but he moved on. He got so big that he founded Heartland Dental, which I believe is a big company that helps dentists in their routine day-to-day work. I'm not smart enough to understand that. I just know that Heartland Dental does very well, and Rick Workman has benefited financially greatly from his being founder of Heartland Dental. So again, a huge sports fan. He loves the Cardinals. He also loves the Chicago Bulls. So that's an interesting thing. I guess the closest basketball team, probably to him would be in Chicago. He loves sports so much that he named his first son Jordan McGuire. As in Michael, as in Mark. Hey, and I can speak to that. I was named after 49er football quarterback John Brody. Yeah, true story. So there's no knock there. I'm just saying, wow, that is quite the commitment to name your son, who I think was born in the late 90s. So obviously all that makes sense. Some of the peak years of Michael Jordan, some of the peak years of Mark McGuire. Jordan McGuire Workman, from what I understand, is Rick's oldest son. He loves sports. In fact, he gave the Sentinel this quote, which kind of made me think baseball has always been a part of me. Me and my wife, Angie, still sit at home on the couch and watch about 120 games a year. Baseball is a religion for us. Rick, I'm somebody who used to work studio shows pre and post game, and the most I think I worked in a year was about 120 baseball games, and that was a lot. So 120 out of 162 is quite the commitment. Now, maybe he's just watching a couple innings here, a couple innings there. I was doing the full games and before and after, but to the point, I mean, we're also, as somebody who's a family man who runs a giant business, the founder of Heartland Dental, where do you have time to watch 120 baseball games day and night? So the point here is, for as much as people criticize John Morgan as not being a baseball guy, Rick Workman, who is the primary investor, I didn't really dive into that, of the $2.5 billion, I mean, what is he good for? $500 million? $750 million? We don't know the exact amount. We just know that he is labeled as the primary investor of this group. Workman was in the stadium, Busch Stadium, the night that McGuire broke the record. He was there when Cardinals great Lou Brock got his 3,000th hit in 1979. Part of his memorabilia collection includes the base from when Brock stole number 893 and broke Ty Cobb's record, eventually broken by the Man of Steel, Rickey Henderson. He's got Cardinals legend Bob Gibson's 1968 MVP award and the game ball from Gibby's 17-strikeout masterpiece in the '68 World Series. He's even got Cardinal pitcher Jesse Haynes' 1926 World Series ring. In fact, he's got every Cardinals World Series ring and league championship ring since World War II. he ought to just invest in the Cardinals. I mean, he specifically loves the Cardinals. You can tell, though, he loves baseball. But now he's in Orlando, and you'd have to think that given his financial situation and the ability to jump in on this, it, in his case, makes some sense of why he'd be in on the Dreamers. Though a Midwesterner by birth, Workman is now a Central Floridian by choice. He's called Orlando home since 2008 and raised his 4 children here. He believes Orlando is more than ready for another professional sports team. From the beginning, ever since that first conversation with Pat Williams, who has since passed on, founder of the Orlando Magic, and Schnorf, Jim Schnorf, who was kind of his right-hand man, Workman let it be known that he was willing to play any role necessary, either as a major investor or a contributing investor. Just a few weeks ago, the Dreamers identified Workman as their anchor investor, which essentially means one of two things. Here's where it gets interesting. Here's where it gets spicy. Again, we don't know the exact contribution for Workman. Maybe he doesn't even know either, but maybe they have a window of contribution. But one of those two things is where it gets interesting here. If an existing baseball owner, like the Rays' Stuart Sternberg, wanted to move a team to Orlando, Workman would lead a group of local minority investors. So Workman is saying, I'll pledge a high dollar amount, but I don't even need to be the majority investor. I just want to get baseball here to Orlando. Or 2, if a team like the Rays were bought, Workman is willing to be the majority owner. So that flexibility right there is what should make Rays fans, I think, in Tampa and St. Pete, the Tampa Bay region, should make you feel a little uneasy. Because if Stuart Sternberg is in fact going to sell, and it's easier to sell, not even the whole team, but part of the team, to get that valuation up, to recoup some of that money, to get a stadium project going, if it's easier to do and more lucrative to do in Orlando than Tampa or St. Pete, which are kind of roadblocked right now for Stuart Sternberg, then why wouldn't this be the easiest and most lucrative option? And I know if you're thinking, well, Major League Baseball has to approve this, all it takes is Stuart Sternberg showing baseball, I've got it lined up, here's my people, I want to move 90 miles up the road, 90 miles up Interstate 4. It's done. They will unanimously vote for this, just like they did for the Oakland A's to relocate to Las Vegas. It's this flexibility which I think puts the Rays in jeopardy in the Tampa Bay region. Workman goes on in the Orlando Sentinel piece to say, quote, "This is my adopted hometown. I think this is an incredible opportunity for our city. We're the largest market in the country that doesn't have a baseball team, and we're growing like crazy in every direction. If you're going to pick a spot for a baseball team in a town that doesn't have one, I don't know where in America you would pick other than Orlando. Maybe there are a couple other cities, but I don't live in those cities. I live here." End quote. He's passionate, loves baseball, loves Orlando, has a lot of money, is willing to be flexible. I'm telling you, this is something that makes the situation even more interesting here. And that contrast, right, compared to John Morgan, who came out, who did the interview and said that money is my main motivation in investing. Now, he's in for $250 million, I think. Not as much, obviously, as Workman, but John Morgan is in this for a certain amount, but it's not really the dollar amount, I think, that makes him the key piece of all this. Morgan also said that Orlando can't fail due to the high volume of tourism. He also said now is the time, realizing that the Rays are in this temporary spot. Tropicana Field is ruined. They're playing in a minor league stadium. He basically said now is the time to pounce and capitalize and try and bring in the Rays. He also said that Major League Baseball in Tampa is always going to be a, quote, loser. They asked him to invest, apparently, he said, and he wouldn't do it because they are a, quote, loser. He says he knows the Orlando area, the market, the demand, but here is the key factor. Yeah, he might contribute a couple $100 million. That's necessary. That's fine. That's all part of this. But John Morgan's political connections might be the reason that they have him on board here, right? Because it is going to take some work with Orange County in Orlando to try and get the land, try and do the stadium deal. So maybe that's why John Morgan is in as one of these big 2 early investors. Workman's got the passion. Workman's got maybe a higher contribution, but Morgan has the political connections that may ultimately be necessary. And so the Sentinel sums up this piece by saying skeptics who once dismissed the Dreamers' effort now have to reckon with a well-organized, well-funded organization led by Workman, a man who built the most successful dental enterprise in American history from a 2-chair basement office back on the farm in Illinois. That kind of resume is hard to doubt. And that's why I'm saying here in this piece, which is a bio piece, and it is a pump-up piece. And yeah, of course, Rick Workman's going to love reading that in the Orlando Sentinel, but there's nothing wrong with that. He agreed to talk, and they kind of profiled him. It's the profile which paints, again, a positive picture for Orlando and trying to acquire the Rays right now for all the reasons I stated, and kind of a concerning realization, like I said, for those of you who are fans of the Rays in Tampa Bay. Trust me, I've seen this movie before. This is a character, I don't mean like a bad character. This is a person, a character of the movie to pay attention to right now. That's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Also down there, thumbs up. Helps me, this video, and this channel. And one last request. You already know what it is. Please go down there and make sure you are already subscribed to this channel. Hit that button right now. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.